Well, welcome everybody. I am Cindy Lauderdale. I am your Horticulture and Turfgrass National Chair, and thank you for joining us today. I know that this is a busy season for everyone, so I'm planning on starting basically on time and hopefully we'll end on time. But it is also informal, and we encourage you to ask questions or things like that as we go. So let me share my screen and we will get going. So thank you for being interested in going on the Horticulture and Turfgrass Committee pre-tour. And we are going to be discovering Dallas and slightly beyond. But a lot of the information that we give today would also be helpful if you're looking into other tours with the registration process and things like that. Just so you know, this is our regional chairs, and at least two of them are on with us today, Jenny from the Northeast and Danny from the Southern region. And we encourage you to reach out to your state or regional chairs if you have questions when it comes to horticulture and turfgrass. At the national meeting, besides the pre-tour, we will also be hosting a super seminar. We will be hosting several rooms with abstracts, and we also have a committee meeting that is open to everyone. You do not have to be your state chair or a regional chair to attend the Horticulture Committee meeting in Dallas. So the Horticulture and Turfgrass Pre-Tour is on the Friday and Saturday before the events start on Sunday. So the dates are July 12th and 13th. And we are lucky to have sponsors, Bear Crop Science, Bartlett Tree Experts, and then the NACAA supports us to make these pre-tours available to you for a very limited amount of cost to you. So shout out to all of our sponsors. So just a quick little taste of what the pre-tour will be. On day one, the Friday, July 12th, we're going to be traveling and spending the day in McKinney, Texas. And that is going to start with the crepe myrtle trails of McKinney. Their collection there, they originally started with the idea that they would have one of every crepe myrtle known to man. As you all know, that crepe myrtles got bred really, really quick because people really, really love them. So I don't think they probably have every crepe myrtle known to man, but this was going to be a really pretty sight during that month of July. They should be in full bloom. Then we'll be going to the Star, and this is the practice facility of the Dallas Cowboys. This will be focusing a little more on turf. So that is one thing that we try to do with our horticulture pre-tours, is have something for everyone in horticulture. And then another stop, maybe not our last stop, but another stop in McKinney is going to be the Allen Heritage Village. And there's a lot of interesting things going on here. We are working with the county agent, and his master gardeners have a planting project here that he says will be in full glory in July. So just a little taste of what we're going to do on day one. Day two, we're going to stay more in the Dallas area. And we're going to start at North Haven Garden Center. They have been in existence since 1951. And what we have found is a lot of these garden centers have their growing facilities much further away from Dallas. So instead of spending a lot of time on the bus, we will see more where their retail establishment is. We will then be getting all the glory of the Dallas Arboretum and Botanical Garden. We will be having a guided tour there, plus plenty of time on our own, because I know horticulture agents, we like to kind of do our own thing and investigate our favorite plants. So there will be plenty of time to do that. And then another stop is the Dallas Discovery Garden. So while it has beautiful things outside, there's also a butterfly conservatory here. And this is just to give you a little taste of what we have planned. So hopefully you'll want to join us. With that, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to some of the participants of past tours and let them kind of tell you how a typical tour works. So I'm going to let Katie go first, if that is okay.
All right, let me share my screen. Okay, I went at this as a some highlights of past tours. I've been on probably 10 or so past horticulture tours. It is my favorite part of NACAA because of the relationships we get to make and all the sites we get to see. From a bromeliad nursery in Florida a few years ago to last year, we toured a tree nursery in Iowa. So that was native trees. From a Magnolia Gardens in South Carolina to hydroponics in Indiana. P. Allen Smith was a highlight of a tour a hort tour in Arkansas, and eating figs fresh off a tree in his garden during that tour. I got to see robotics moving plants in a greenhouse in Utah. Turfgrass research in Tennessee, and then also orchids in a cave when we were in Kansas. All of these are just brief highlights. I could go on and on with pictures of all the different tours and things that we have seen. The cool thing is a lot of these I still use in my programming. I took pictures of blackberry trellises in Arkansas that I use in my fruit production programming. Or I can share that from that turf research that why astroturf probably isn't a good idea, and real turf is the way we want to go, as of course as a horticulture specialist. So lots of great sites to see, and it's also making that network and having fun adventures. So in Florida a couple of years ago, this was before the tropical rain, and during the rain, we got to walk through, and the after the rain pictures. But it's all about the pre-tours for me are about a lot of times the relationships that we get to make and that network that we get to make, and long-term friendships. So we all know each other now after many tours of going together, and I also know who to reach out to if I need something. So I had a call come in that was, they sent their soil test to University of Missouri, but come to find out their chestnut orchard was in Mississippi. So I was able to reach out to Donna, who's in this picture, and say, "Hey, Donna, who's your nut tree specialist that I can connect these people with?" So it's that network. And also, if you're looking at promotion, it's knowing people to help with promotion process, or even getting to know everybody's expertise and having that opportunity to say, "Hey, I can pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, I need an expert in this," or that network. And that's to me the valuable part of the pre-tour, and it is my absolute favorite part of all of NACAA. Does anybody have any questions?
You can unmic yourself if you have a question directly for Katie, or put it in the chat, and I'm trying to watch that. So there was a question, is there a plan B in case of rain? Katie, how about you answer that since you alluded to what happened in Florida?
No, we were kind of asked, well, it looks like it's going to hold off. And we started our walk and it did not hold off. We did have, you saw some umbrellas, so we were semi-prepared, but it is what it is. And that's our opportunity to go see it. So we did get eaten by mosquitoes on the way back. That was the worst part. But it's those memories and those adventures that we have, because none of us that went on that will forget that. As Cindy, I saw Cindy and Danny nodding their heads, and Donna. So, yep.
And Michael, we were late to our next stop because we all decided we did need to change. And luckily we did have our luggage with us and that we could do that. But yes, this trip is rain or shine. And while I'd like to think it could be cool, it's probably going to be very, very hot. So what is the weather like? Yes. So the weather in Dallas, I believe, will be smoldering and probably humid. Does anybody else want to chime in on weather in July in Texas? But that it will probably be very hot. We will have drinks and things like that on our bus and enjoy the AC between different stops. But yes, you'll probably want to be prepared to have cool clothing and a hat and plenty of sunscreen. And just to regroup on what or reflect on what Katie said, yes, it is a lot of learning for us. It's a lot that we can bring back to our counties, but the friendships that we make, I feel like I can call anybody basically anywhere in our great country and ask them for help with things. And so Scott put in the chat that the average temperature in July, the high is 96 and the low is 75. Record temperatures have been up to 110 and they get about 2 inches of rainfall in July. Thank you for that, Scott.
I would like to add, usually you say to bring bug spray and wear comfortable shoes that you can
Yes.
do a lot of walking in.
Yeah. So I don't believe on this tour they have said anywhere with closed-toed shoes, but that's kind of suggested. So I think more sneakers maybe than flip-flops. But yeah, and then, depending upon how much you like to protect your skin, you might still want to wear, a long sleeve shirt and things like that. Yes, I love hats, sunscreen, and bug spray. Okay, well, with that, I will turn my mic and let Jenny go next. And I think Jenny's trying to share a screen, but also, Jenny, make sure you unmute yourself.
That's always a good idea. Okay, let's see if this will work this time. Share screen. And here we go. Good enough. All right. Move this out of the way. Oh, I hate it when you can't get to. Let's just do this. Apologize. This is okay. Well, I'm going to walk you guys.
Do you see at the top where it says slideshow? That will make it bigger.
That's just it. I can't see the word slideshow.
Okay, if you move your mouse over a little to the right, a little more.
Is that it?
No, a little more.
To the right. Sorry.
Yes.
There.
Huh, I don't see your mouse moving now. Oh,
Okay.
there. Yes. Go up a little bit.
Right there.
Up a little more.
Sorry. It's right here.
No, to the left. You're at review. Yeah,
Right,
a little
how-
more to the left.
Okay.
Yes, click and see what happens. Oh,
No, shoot.
okay, if you got to run it that way, that's fine.
Apparently so. Okay, well,
Okay.
what I'm gonna do is walk you guys through what we had a blast when we went to West Palm. And so I just took a bunch of pictures just to kind of give you a preview of some of the cool things that we can see. There was this really amazing bougainvillea that was a bonsai. This is ancient. And it was just, I made sure that I had one of the people on the tour to be there so you could see the size. This is absolutely humongous. These are the kind of things that's kind of fun to see and that we can use to teach. Like, for instance, I was showing these tropical sedums that are used for landscape use. And the whole time that everybody was there, everyone was going, we can't grow those here where I live, but they can obviously do them here. And that was a lot of fun. We had really colorful things like orchids that, we up in Maryland, that's where I am for the Northeast, we only can grow these indoors. They were growing them outdoors and they were spectacular. And there were lots of different types. These are the dancing lady orchids, and these are the same variety, but not dancing lady ones. So they're just really, really pretty. The tropicals that they had were amazing. And to see them as they put them in pocket gardens so you could actually see what was going on and how they used them. It's how we use a lot of annuals in the summertime. And yet this was basically pretty much all year long. I guess the only thing that would hold them back would be the heat. I love these because these are really large. These are only in 5-inch pots right now, but I saw some that were in 1-gallon pots and they were humongous and they got even better. And then you have these, like this one right here was huge. I ended up buying a small one of this. It was a 4-inch pot. It's already in a 10-inch pot. And it's probably like a monstera. It's crazy. But I love this one because of the colors and all that kind of stuff. And these are the type of things that sometimes you'll find, like when we went to the caves and we saw the orchids there, that was kind of unusual, but it was spectacular here. The other thing is you get to see different plant material. If you're a horticulturist, this is what is near and dear to your heart. You want to see what's new, what's available. And I have seen something like this as an annual sold in on the Mid-Atlantic area, but it was really, really neat to see it as for sale as an actual landscape plant. I think we had something like this before that Katie put together, but this was amazing to have all these bromeliads, like from the very beginning, all the way as far as you could see, almost what is obviously the end of the greenhouse, but all the different colors, and they were so beautiful and so cool. It was really hard for all of us not to buy one of each so we could go ahead and bring them home. But the other thing that you can also do is when you're looking at the landscapes, you can look at something like this. I use this for teaching all the time. What is an adventitious root? Why is it used for? You can talk about how it's used for a tomato plant. And that really goes a long way because there's so many people who love tomato plants and they're asking, why is this going on and all that? But to have this like it is and explain that this actually helps hold the plant, in place during a hurricane. Not too many of us have to do that, which is kind of nice. I'm really glad I don't have too many hurricanes. But, it could happen. But I just think it's really, it's like Katie said, you end up using these slides over and over again. This was one of the places that we went to. This was the entrance way to it. And I just love the palms. And since we were in West Palm, I thought, oh, I've got to take a picture of the palms. And this was really, really beautiful. They had all kinds of things. It was a nursery, and they also had horses, dancing horses for us. We went to another place that was a arboretum kind of, and they had beautiful, beautiful plants. With something like that is just stunning. And when you take a picture of that and bring it back to wherever you are, you can find a use for that. This one was kind of fun because it was actually labeled on the tree. This is star fruit. A lot of people can find this at the grocery store, but I don't think I've ever known the botanical name. So here's the botanical name. I just think it's really kind of fun to have something like that you can share. And then it makes people think that maybe they should buy a star fruit at the grocery store and see how good it is. I love this one because anytime I talk about orchids, I tell people, down in Florida, they actually grow on the palm trees. And I've seen them on crepe myrtles and a lot of things. Now this one has obviously been tied on. You can see the wrap and all that. But I have actually seen them growing on the trees. So it's, again, it's a really good thing to kind of share. This one I think is a really cool on the mangroves. Again, to show how the different root systems and the adventitious roots that they have that hold this plant when you're talking about climate change. This is a really good slide to talk about climate change, because not all of us are going to look like South Florida, but we're all going to have some issues, and having something like that's kind of cool. We also went to a really cool hydroponic place. I have a hydroponic businesses in the areas that I work, in the 3 counties that I work in. But it was fun to go see somebody else's hydroponic presentation. And it was nice to see that they had the screens right here to give a little bit of protection for the sun. We don't necessarily need to do that in the Mid-Atlantic, but other places, south, definitely have to do it. And this was really cool. So you can see the different type of lettuces that they grew. But this was one of the harvesters where they would go ahead and put the flats into it. And then they could go ahead and harvest it so that it would clean all the soil off, and all you would have would be the plants. I thought this was kind of neat. It was all at Greenlight Farms. They had posters. This is only one of the many posters that they had, but they talk about quality standards, and they had it both in English and Spanish. And they had the pictures of what they considered was good. And these are unacceptable because they don't look exactly right. They're the wrong color. They're too old, whatever. And like, for instance, the stem length and the diseases here, and the yellowing of the leaves, and the hole in the plants. So this helps their people understand which ones they should harvest. And of course, I had to take a picture of once they harvest it, they put it in these plastic containers. This I thought was really cool too. I have never seen that in any other place. They had an automated hand washing system. And I have shared this with some of the people in Maryland, thinking, hey, if you have something, like a farm or something like that, and you really want to be sanitized, this would be really cool. They were all, that's really cool. So of course, since we were at the beach, we had to go to the beach. Just had to throw that one in. We also had a chance to see a lot of private and public gardens. And when you go on these tours, you do get to go places that sometimes the general public doesn't have a chance to go. So these were all some of the different places that we saw. This is a mangrove, let me see, what was it called? Oh, star lily. So it was a mangrove star lily. I thought it was kind of neat. Here's another one that I thought was really cool. Again, this is a teaching moment where they have this as a really pretty container garden. And they said, oh, and the best part about it, we can take this out and we can put in something blooming for Easter or Mother's Day, or just because we found something in bloom. And I've used this slide, these 2 slides, an awful lot to show people how you can do it and how easy it is. I was thinking it was so cool. So this actually is already grown, and there's a pot in the center that they just put this 4-inch pot right back into it. Okay, so this was some of the private gardens that we did go to. So, West Palm, these are people who have a house that's like not their first, second, third, maybe 4th or 5th or 6th house, and they have a full-time horticulturist and 3 gardeners, and they had all their orchids swinging on little swings, and they had these cool plants, and this is really cool. This is see, it's TACOPA, Tacopa tree. It was just amazing. So it was kind of fun. And some of the other plants that they had as a container garden, they had all these different sedums that were spectacular. And I can do something like that where I am, but I can't use these wonderful tropicals and have it look the same. And this is really cool. This is called the Queen's Wreath. It's just a really near sort of a small tree. And then this is another picture of the orchids just swinging in the breeze. So this is my little tour of West Palm. And every year I go, I take a gazillion pictures, and then I have to think, which ones am I going to keep? I go ahead and stop sharing. Here we go.
Thank you, Jenny. And West Palm was a good tour. And that was a little bit unique. So sometimes we do things differently. That tour, we started in Miami and then we ended at West Palm Beach. This year we're starting in Dallas and ending in Dallas. But sometimes we, kind of travel out further or start in one location and end up at another location. Is there any questions for Jenny? You can either unmute or put something in the chat. And Jenny, how many tours do you think you've been on?
I think I started doing the tours in maybe 2000, and I haven't missed one except for COVID. One of the things that I remember one of my friends was saying, this is the best part of the entire conference. As a horticulturist, you need to go. And I was always have an excuse. My husband always wanted to go too, and he said, "Oh, I'm too busy." And I finally said, when are we ever going to go back to, Omaha or, Arkansas? There were so many places, and it invariably, we always found the pre-tour to be the most fun and to get most of the information that we would actually use. I shouldn't say it that way, but that's how it always felt. And also, it's just so much fun.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. And now I'm going to turn it over to Donna Hoffman. A funny thing on our tour is I think we have about 3 Donnas. So when in doubt, just yell Donna and it will get resolved. So Donna, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, I should have put slides together because we all have wonderful pictures from the tours, but I just have not gotten that done. And Katie and Jenny did a great job of showing you all pictures from the tours. Cindy has mentioned that we will be on a bus for the trip. I think one of the tours might have been Indiana that we were on. No, it wasn't. But anyway, one of the tours, it seems like we were on 2 vans instead of a big bus. But usually we're in one big bus so we can all get to know each other, visit with the people that were sitting around. The first pre-horticulture tour I went to was in 2009, and we all met up in Kansas City. We just had the International Master Gardener Conference at the same hotel and conference center in 2023. But we discovered that there were the 3 Donnas, Donna A, Donna Oftenberg from Missouri, Donna Belich from Mississippi, and I was not married yet, so I was Donna C, Donna Quinn at that time. And we have kind of kept in contact through the Horticulture Pre-Tours and NACAA. But I met somebody from Florida at that event, and I got to call her like the next year. Somebody here was growing, and I'm in Wyoming. Somebody here was growing a citrus tree in their house and had a scale bug on it. And I know about scale, but I don't know about citrus scale. So I called her, and we friended each other on Facebook. And anyway, she gave me the control measures for citrus scale. And that was super helpful to have a connection there. And you get to meet people from across the state or the different states. A couple of years ago, I invited Patrick Beyer from Missouri and Dennis Patton from Kansas to come to our spring Master Gardener Conference. And they both did presentations that were very beneficial because I got to know what subject matter those 2 educators were really versed at, and benefited from having them come to do programs in my home state. The one event that Jenny's just mentioning, I drove to the South Dakota event, and when they did the pre-horticulture tour, I can't remember if you started in Sioux Falls and then drove the vans across the state and then ended up back at Sioux Falls, but I was going to be driving across the state anyway. So I decided not to join the pre-tour that way because I was going to drive across the state and drive back across the state and drive back across South Dakota. So I didn't do that one, but I think I've gone to about 8 or 9 of the the conferences, pre-tours, since the one where we met many of you in Kansas City. The one in Arkansas stands out. I've used several of the design tips from P.L. and Smith's Moss Mountain, and I've used slides from his vegetable garden and that beautiful fig tree that we all got to sample off of in my PowerPoints. Over the years, I've been able to get pictures of different botanical families and use those in my botanical lessons for my master gardeners. In Tennessee, I know we saw quite a few different business related things, and one of the research places that Katie mentioned was that turfgrass research, and that setup that we were all standing around in her picture was they were testing the safety of turfgrass for specifically football players, but it also applies to soccer players and baseball players. And the natural turfgrass is actually much safer, less chance of getting a concussion on the natural turfgrass than it is on the AstroTurf. So seeing that research in play was great. We oftentimes get to go to a research and extension center and see what research is going on in the various states. Katie had a picture of the automation of one of the greenhouse businesses that sells completely across the Rocky Mountain region when we were at the Utah Horticulture Pre-Tour. In the Iowa tour last year, we got to visit several different aspects of horticulture for the Midwest. And of course, the event in Florida, we got to see everything from a garden center where several of us purchase plants to bring home, depending upon what kinds of plants we all really like and collect ourselves. Of course, when you fly, you usually purchase something that's in a 4-inch pot instead of something that's in the 10 or 12-inch pot that Jenny mentioned she's already moved up to with her purchase in the philodendron family. I know the air plants were really popular purchases in Florida for those of us that were flying, because you can tuck them in a suitcase or tuck them in your carry-ons, and they don't take up a lot of space. But knowing that you're probably going to be able to stop at some retail places, the botanical centers that look like we're going to be stopping at will probably have some retail places. So it's a great place to pick up botanical books. Again, because things will be labeled at the botanical gardens, you'll probably be able to get pictures that you can use in future presentations. And if you're just building botany lessons, all of these places are great to get pictures of. I didn't even know what a crepe myrtle was. I'd heard it before we were on I think the tour in Arkansas, and I kept going, what is that? What is that? What is that? And finally somebody that has them said, oh, that's a crepe myrtle. Like, we don't have them in Wyoming. So it's wonderful to see plants that you wouldn't get to see in your home region when we visit other parts of the country. The one thing I will mention, Scott mentioned the typical average weather in Dallas, because the West has been in drought. Maybe we can hope that we'll have a drier July in Dallas. 2.3 inches of rain for the month is not a lot. So hopefully the week that we are there, it will be a little on the dry side and be plenty sunny. I'm pretty fair skinned. And so the sunscreen is something that I typically remember to take along with me, but I'm always glad that the committee has spray bottles of this, that, and the other for whatever situation we're in. And I have begun packing a hat with me, and always take at least a light long sleeve shirt to cover up if I do get too much sun. But we do meet wonderful people and great expertises from across the country, and then develop friendships that you either will call on programming or for a question that you don't typically get in your area of the country. And we've stayed friends and really look forward to seeing each other, oftentimes touching base with each other back through the year leading up to the next AMPIC. So this group of people has become some of my favorite people in the National Association, and I'm always really happy to get to see them again the following year at the annual pre-tour and then throughout the AMPIC while we're together.
Thank you, Donna. You brought up a lot of good memories. Thinking back, Danny Lauderdale, who is my husband and also fellow agent, you know, when we came on a lot of these tours, we had children at the time, and, you know, sometimes we would follow in a different car or whatever to not subject you all to my offspring. So we've come a long way, and definitely have had some good, memorable times throughout the tours. And I do still have 2 of my 3 orchids I bought from Palm Beach. One of them did not like me, I guess. But anyway, so yeah, definitely good times and things like that. So are there any questions? We can open your mic, or you can also put that in the chat. Okay, not seeing any right now. I'm going to let Danny go and talk about the registration process.
Have a good one. My Wi-Fi is sending email. Okay. All right, everyone should be able to see my presentation now. So we'll just run through a little bit step by step of the registration process, and if it's okay with Cindy, I also might do a little bit of highlighting of some of the stops that I know more about on the tour this year as well. Is that okay, Cindy, when we get to
It
that part?
is. I just didn't want to give too much away because,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So I just thought a little glimpse.
So I'm going to start with the online registration process, since that's the preferred method of registration, and go through that. When you go to the link on the site, this will be the first page that you see, and we're always reminded to make sure that we're staying at the host hotel to avoid that $250 facility fee, and to make sure if one person is reserving the room, that the other person has to have the confirmation number for that as well. I'll note here that make sure that you reserve additional nights at the Hilton there that we're staying at in Dallas. If you're coming in the day before for the night of the 11th, the 12th, and then the 13th, as we will be departing on a bus after breakfast on July 11th and the 12th from this hotel. I think right now we
I think it's the
tentative.
12th and the 13th. It's
That
July
is
11th.
that is correct. My apologies for that. It is July 12th and 13th we'll be departing from the hotel. Sorry about that. And then on the 13th or the 14th, we have an optional departure as well on public transportation for the Dallas Farmers Market that we'll have available as well. So I apologize for that. It is departing the 12th and the 13th on the bus from that hotel. And we are going to be, I believe, both days not having a super early start because of traffic in the Dallas area. We're going to try to wait a little bit later. I think right now we plan to leave around 9 o'clock on Friday the 12th, and I think 8:45 on the 13th. So as you move on through the registration process, you're going to, of course, select what type of member you are. And if you're rooming with somebody who you're rooming with, of course, I'll be rooming with Cindy. And then as you continue on through, there will be the information about you can register for your pre-tours for certain conference events, meal functions, all of that. The early registration and the increase after May 15th is there as well. And then again, as you continue, you'll get to your, who are you? What registration type are you doing? Whether you're an active member, a first-time timer with less than 5 years, life member, so on and so forth. And I will also mention that this talks about as well back on this slide that if you do the online registration, you're doing for one person on each registration online. So if you have a spouse or guest or children coming, you have to go back in and register them as well. And that is also a point I should make here is that the registration fee, which we'll get to here for the tour, is $100, and that is per person, whether that's the agent, whether that's a spouse, some other guest, your children, and that is the registration cost, whether for some reason you are only coming for one day to the tour or both main days of the tour or any part of the tour, it's $100 per person. As you continue on through, you'll get to where you select your meal functions as well. Super seminar information is there. And then you finally, well, not finally, but then you'll get to, when you get close to 40% complete, 38% complete, you'll get to, do you want to attend a pre-tour? And then if you select yes, then you will see all the options of the pre-tours. You can start at the beginning. You can select which one you want to participate in. We'll hope you'll participate in the Horticulture Pre-Tour. And then as you scroll down that page, you will get to the description, which is also in the County Agent magazine of the pre-tour. And this is where I wanted to just mention a few things about some of the stops that I know more about as I was more involved in planning them. Cindy mentions our first stop on July 12th is the McKinney Crepe Myrtle World Collection Park. We will also have we'll have a discussion of how that the crepe myrtle plantings in McKinney started. We will have one of the founding members of their crepe myrtle program and a former agent in Texas, Neil Sperry, and one of the members involved in the park as well. And planning the park will be with us. The superintendent of the park system in McKinney for the park will be there with us, and the Crepe Myrtle Trails of McKinney board president as well. So we'll have all the Crepe Myrtle folks, as far as McKinney goes, there to tell us about the history of crepe myrtles in McKinney, what they've done with their street tree plantings of them, the park, what their future plans are, and then we also have a specialist from Texas A&M, entomologist, to talk about crepe myrtle bark scale. So for those of you who are familiar with crepe myrtles and that pest, or if you're not, you will learn all about their experience, because Texas is where that pest came into the country, and Texas A&M did a lot of research on crepe myrtle bark scale many years ago. So we'll learn all about crepe myrtles and about crepe myrtle bark scale as well when we are at that site. The STAR that Cindy mentioned, the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters and Practice Facility, is going to be kind of a behind the scenes tours of indoor facilities and that type of thing, and history of the Dallas Cowboys. So a little more on the actual sports side of it. They do have both artificial turf fields there and real grass fields there as well. And we I'm not sure if we've gotten the final confirmation on that, but I know we have requested for a turfgrass specialist to give us a presentation following our tour of the other football and Dallas Cowboy indoor facilities. And then after lunch, Cindy mentions going to the Allen Heritage Village site, which features earth-kind landscaping. So Brad Voss and the Collin County Master Gardeners there, that site is multiple buildings and landscaping around all of them. And Brad said that despite the heat that we will have and be in and possibly dry, that the site will be at its peak in July and will look fabulous for us to see how you can do what they've done with the environmentally friendly landscaping techniques that they use on that site there. And then we will have dinner in McKinney to avoid traffic before going back into the Dallas area. It's looking like that possibly will be at that Tups Brewery, which has a new, very large facility, and we would have a semi-private space in an upstairs loft at that site for our dinner there. And then Cindy also mentioned the following day, the 13th, the North Haven Gardens, and you've heard about the experiences agents have had at other garden centers, and I'm sure that will be fantastic as well. As well as I'm looking forward to definitely the Dallas Arboretum and Botanical Gardens. And again, the Neil Sperry that I mentioned, he was involved in the beginnings of that as well. I don't think Neil's going to be there at that site, but it's a great facility for us as well. And then we will be touring the Texas Discovery Gardens, as well as possibly the Fair Park and Big Tex Urban Farms that are basically all kind of on one side or within walking distance of each other as well. So I think we've got some excellent opportunities. And then the option of the Sunday morning, July 14th, to meet in the lobby and going to the Dallas Farmers Market for shopping and brunch and whatever. And so we've got a lot of great opportunities. But again, the short description is here on the site. And also at the bottom of that same page is your application that you have to do for registering for the Horticulture Pre-Tour, and all the pre-tours have the same thing. You have to answer the 3 questions. Why do you wish to attend the tour? How do you intend to use the tour information in your educational programs? And describe your major program emphasis with extension. So that's part of the registration and application process. And then from there, you will continue on through other questions about meals and other events at the conference. And then at the end, you will get a registration summary. I didn't completely fill this one out. I just did active member and selected the pre-hort tour. So you will see that at the end at your summary, and then you would click to either pay by check and receive the instructions of how to get the check sent, or pay online with the credit card. And then of course, if you were registering another person, then you would go back in and start the process all over again. So that's the online process. And then the County Agent Magazine registration form is the description is on page 12 and 13 of the County Agent Magazine, very similar to what is on the website. So that is there. And then on pages 29, 30, 31, and 32, I believe, is the main part of where your registration is for in the magazine. The difference here is you do have potential, if you would choose, although online is preferred, to register additional folks on this form if you do it in the print form and mail that or send that information in. So it's all the same information, just in a little bit different format.
So there is a question, I'm not sure if Keith or Scott can answer that, but how do okay, so Scott put in the chat how you can get a hard copy of this. I guess some people may not be getting the hard magazine mailed to them. So Scott put the link in there, and I'm not sure, Scott, if you had the option of getting that mailed to you or not mailed to you. So that might be something, Holly, you want to reach out to our executive director if you're not receiving that by mail and would like to. Do we have the daily rate for the hotel? I think it's $199 a night. That could depend if you upgrade or something like that. Can somebody confirm that for me? But I think that's what it was.
I'm pretty sure it's $199, and that's for a double, 2 queen beds in the room. At one point they were asking me, because I had called the hotel, if I wanted to do a king bed. And I just kept telling them, no, just the double queens is fine. Cindy, if you don't mind, I'd take another minute or two. I had a couple of other thoughts while Danny was talking. You guys had mentioned that your kids had been in the van with you behind. One year I did, when we were in Utah, we took my husband's grandson with us, and my husband went along. And so if you do have family members, we have had family members, not too many kids have come along, but we have had kids come along, and they seem to find interesting things at the different sites. One of the sites that none of us have mentioned is we periodically will stop at a winery, and sometimes we can purchase items at the winery. I don't know if Dallas still has dry counties. At one point in time, I think Fort Worth was a dry county, but Dallas was in a different county, and it's not a dry county, but I could have those reversed. But we sometimes will stop at wineries and be able to do tastings, or I think we've stopped at breweries and done some beer tasting, but that could have been on the professional improvement conference tour days. And then oftentimes we involve a historical garden, and Danny had mentioned the connection to a particular person, but we've learned about several historical characters in the historical trade of horticulture, and people that have been involved in horticulture and bringing horticulture to the United States that even with all of my botany classes never got mentioned in a botany class, that I was kind of dumbfounded about. And one of the gardens we went to, I smelled something. It was in the air and it just smelled tremendous. And I just had to see whatever it was that I was smelling. And I was just sure it was a jasmine. And finally, the docent pointed out a lang-lang tree. So sometimes we get to see trees that have a connection societally to something. And lang-lang is one of those things that's a very expensive component in perfumes. And so periodically we get our senses very much stimulated with scents, or touch, or the colors that we see, and they have a connection to commerce as well. So lots of different things to see, and different aspects of horticulture, from historical to very current research and upgrades into the horticulture trade.
Thank you, Donna. And Scott also put that the room can be higher if you're having more than 2 people per room. So when you select those rooms, and I did mine online So, you know, like Donna was referring to, you can pick a king or two doubles or whatever might be the case. And actually this hotel, I guess, has two wings or however you want to call it. They have the atrium rooms and the tower rooms. So you get the options of that too. Are there any other questions that anybody would like to ask? You can unmute or put it in the chat. We have a few more minutes.
Cindy, did you want to mention anything about the plan for meals and what they might expect for that, about who's paying for what?
So right now, your lunch and dinner is provided on both Friday and Saturday. We may be offering an option for a breakfast depending upon our funding, and we will talk about that sooner once you register. And at this time, a brewery tour is in the process, which may be considered something that we can do as part of our tour and be paid for, but we will need to get permission if that tasting has to be billed separately. So though that is what I know, I think, for that. Is that what you're looking for, Danny? Okay. So if you only want to come Saturday, that is fine. It will still be the same $100 registration fee because that is how it's set up in the system. And there are a few places to eat within walking distance at the Hilton. Thank you, Keith, for putting that in. Lots of times on Thursday, if your plane arrives early enough, we sort of do an informal get together and go to a restaurant where we will each pay on our own for that. But that happens a lot on Thursday evening, and we'll set that up once we know how many people are coming.
Really cool restaurant is the Meddlesome Moth. Even has a cool name. It's got a lot of different beers. So we went there during winter board. I would recommend checking it out. It is within walking distance, so I would check that one out for sure. I've heard good reviews about the rodeo goat, flying fish. It's nearby as well too.
Thank you for that. Michael asked if there was any parks or gardens within walking distance of the hotel. It really is a downtown location, and from what we know, and we're not from Texas, there did not seem to be a lot of horticulture right near the hotel. So that is why we were talking about the Sunday, maybe taking the public transportation to the farmer's market, since our meeting doesn't really start until that evening at dinner time on Sunday.
Cindy, one other question. Do we have plans to do gifts for our tour?
That's that you brought something up, and I was like, there's something I meant to say and I didn't. So thank you. So lots of times we are visiting nurseries, and we've asked help from different speakers and things like that. So lots of times, and we will do this again, and usually it's maybe about 15 or 20 items. We ask each person to bring something from their state, and then we put it in a gift bag to give to the people who have helped us make this tour possible. So, at the Crepe Myrtle Trail, we might give a bag to, like Danny mentioned, Neil Sperry and some of the other people who will be talking. We have a professor coming from Texas A&M to talk about the bark scale and things like that. So I don't know, some examples of things, if like your state grows popcorn or peanuts or whatever, it might be some type of like little bag of that or whatever that sort of is, you know, something from your state. Okay, well, I thank you all. We are 1 minute over time. I appreciate it. Please reach out to me or any of your regional chairs if you have any questions, and we hope that you will join us in Dallas, and we're really excited. So thank you again.